I ordinarily start the show talking about something that was being discussed in the studio, and I don't know if I want to open the show by...
It's sports related. It absolutely is sports related.
Sure. I don't know if I wanted to start the show by mentioning that I went live a couple of seconds late because Captain America Chris Evans down the hall was in here, and we were talking about the geometric makeups and designs of soccer balls and how they redesign the soccer ball made by the World Cup or made for the World Cup every 4 years, as well as within the, Premier League and Bundesliga and all that. And there's different ways and reasons that they design and put the ball together. Or if I want to tell you that Lonzo is wearing an amazing Men Without Hats safety dance shirt that you should come see on the stream today because it's pretty spectacular.
I'm 80s all day, man, even when I'm not. How come when you say it sounds like Friday the 13th?
It's just how it sounds.
Okay.
It sounded just like the album.
Okay.
Which you owned an original pressing of, and I did not.
Actually, I did not have the album. They only had actually, they had a couple hits, but still.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. It is Friday, y'all. We got the weekend. It's time for the weekend, kids. But there are 3 hours of our 3 hours is going to give you the same feel as 3.5 minutes of, do you want to do it? I feel like he earned it, Lonzo. Do you want to do it? Baker! There it is.
Had to build that up there.
Dude, you almost fell out of the chair.
Oh, no. I'm very agile, but it needed to come from my toes.
Baker Mayfield with 10 seconds left on the clock last night. Tom Brady's the Las Vegas Raiders.
No, he Joe Montana'd.
Joe Montana was a quarterback, you idiot. Absolutely Tom Brady's the Raiders last night as the LA Rams with 2 days of Baker Mayfield put together one of the most entertaining ends to a game we have seen, Lonzo, since Monday. Same situation, same score.
Not the same situation,
same
though.
Setup.
I mean, it is the same scenario, but I mean, circumstances totally different and more impressive than what was done Monday.
I don't know if I go that far. How is it not?
It's more impressive because he's only there a couple days.
Because of specifically of Baker.
Yeah, I mean.
That's fair. That's actually fair. I'll agree with that. That's fair.
I mean, nothing against Tom Brady, but anyway, I mean, it really comes down to Baker being impressive with the short time that he had to learn any semblance of the offense. He learned enough, though.
He had a plane ride, 1 practice, and 2 nights to learn the Rams playbook.
Here's what I love. So
that throw to Jefferson.
Well, that too. In the morning, I flip back and forth between a show that used to be on this station when we were different call letters and NFL Network, and the difference between the reporting on what happened was it's night and day, which it normally is. So it's a good contrast to find out how things are going. But I enjoyed the NFL Networks better because I think it was Kyle Brandt who said there's a mad scramble this morning by all the producers of podcasts and major networks who have painted a narrative of Baker Mayfield, and now they don't know what to say. And he said that, and I was like, that's what I've been saying all along. So I like that. And then, of course, Max has to bring up, yeah, but this is all because he didn't get along with OBJ. That's the reason why. Yeah, that's the narrative you painted. That's a narrative you guys painted and made huge. And all he did was talk about how he doesn't get along with anyone in the locker room. Did you hear anything about that in Carolina? No, it's funny.
You know what I found entertaining last night?
We're waiting for an apology from Rashad, by the way.
Are you at Shad?
No response. Did you notice that?
Response.
You and I both went at him and nothing.
I didn't go at him. I just tweeted stares directly at Panther Nation podcast.
It's kind of going at him.
Look, I will start with the old clip, the old Bill Belichick sounder. It's one game. It's one game. It's one game. It's just one game. Bill Belichick's, it's just one game. Look, it's just one game. But did we see that Baker in Charlotte? Did we see that Baker in Charlotte?
We did during one game.
Just one game.
Cincinnati.
One game.
Yeah. When
And
he was
again-
given a chance, even though he was behind so much, he was as precise, did all the things he needed to do in that Cincinnati game. And if maybe he had, maybe another 5 minutes, maybe the outcome was different.
Let me be very clear about one thing. I'm even willing to make the argument that, okay, let's accept that the only reason Baker towed up from the flow up in that Cincinnati game was because the Panthers were down 35 at the half, and was because the Panthers were just playing 4 deep, keep everything short football. Let's say for the sake of a discussion that is true.
Yes, but the narrative is that he throws the ball to the other team. He's not precise with his throws. There are so many things going into that, and he did none of that. He did what good Baker does.
By the way, there was Cam Akers that fumbled at one point.
Right, because the score would have been different.
Yeah,
Because they were driving.
They wouldn't have. They'd have been up well before they were. And that's not on him, man. Baker went out again. The numbers aren't like blow you off the page. 22 of 35, 230, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, was sacked 4 times, but Derek Carr was 11 of 20 for 137 and 2 picks. And Baker Mayfield did it after being on this team for 2 days. He got picked up on Tuesday. So not even 2 days, really like a day and a half, because remember, the Rams snagged him just a couple of hours before his waiver wire claims would have been ineligible, and he'd have been a free agent. So really, they had him for about a day and a half, if you include Tuesday night, all day Wednesday, and Thursday morning before the game last night. And he comes out last night, gets the ball back, down 6 on the 2-yard line, after, by the way, one of the best punts we've ever seen in the NFL. Gets the ball on the 2-yard line inside of 2 minutes. And what does dude do? Orchestrates a beautiful touchdown scoring drive. His only touchdown pass in the night, but a beautiful touchdown drive that ended with that touchdown pass to Jefferson, which was a spectacular pass.
Well, the pass
right in the breadbasket.
The pass, I think that was before that, or a couple plays before that, where he threw the deep ball to the sideline, which was an amazing catch when a defender was on the receiver. That was precise. Also, I will tell you, I'm sure we'll.
Yeah, to catch Skoranek down the sideline.
That's who it is. Yeah,
like a jump ball pass.
So we will extensively get into something later on the Views from Mint Street podcast, which you really need to download. Steve Wilkes is in trouble.
Ben McAdoo's in trouble.
No. McAdoo's been in trouble since the beginning of the season. Steve Wilkes is in trouble because I still maintain that Steve Wilkes and Baker, there was something there. He let that guy go. And if the Panthers don't win the rest of the season and the Rams do, no way Steve Wilkes is the coach next year.
If the Panthers don't win the rest of the season and Baker Mayfield performs for the Rams.
Right.
The Rams are still, let's be very clear. The Rams are still not a good football team.
Oh, and they're done. They're not making the playoffs.
Right.
The Rams are not. But if they go out and win every week using this guy who now gets like a week and a half because
they're on the bye. He's got 11 days off.
They get the mini bye because when you play Thursday, then you don't play Sunday. You play the following Sunday. So, so he's going to have more time to learn that offense.
And you know who they got next? At Green Bay, back home for Denver. They can win both those games.
They could.
If they play.
They could.
Again, I do want to say this, all right? And I'm all here for it. In fact, in just a second, I'm going to play you the clip of that play and Baker's post-game reaction. But before I get there, as I mentioned, the Rams are still a bad football team. This does not make them a good football team all of a sudden. They're still bad. They are a team riddled with injuries, right? No Aaron Donald last night. Cooper Kupp's out for a while. The only reason Baker's there is because Matt Stafford's back is still hurting from all the time.
Who's a better team right now, Panthers or Rams? I would say the Panthers are a better team because of health-wise. Panthers are a better team than the Rams.
I am leaning that direction. I'm going to say the Panthers because I got to see what Rams show up against Green Bay, right? Let's call this game last night what it is. That game was ugly, all right? That game was ugly. Just like Monday night, Saints-Buccaneers. It was a thrilling final 3.5 minutes preceded by 57 minutes of trash. All right? That game was brutal. The Las Vegas Raiders just refused to score touchdowns like the Saints did. They were gutless in their play calling, just like the Saints were. The Rams offensively just could not get anything going consistently throughout the first 3 quarters, just like Tampa Bay couldn't, until they decided to put on a fireworks display for the people before they walked out the door. That game was ugly, but good teams win ugly games. I'll tell you who's in trouble. And Lonzo's right, has been from the beginning, but Ben McAdoo's in trouble. Why? Because last night, a good offensive play caller in Sean McVay went, all right, what are Baker's strengths? What are Baker's weaknesses? And how do we play to those? And on 2 nights of prep, 2 nights, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Sean McVay had 2 nights to cater his playbook to Baker Mayfield. 2 nights. And by the way, Baker got claimed on Tuesday. That means that he had 1 day that wasn't a game day with Baker to walk him through and get him ready. And last night, Baker Mayfield came out ready.
You know what stinks for Sam Darnold? He thought, Baker's gone. I don't have that pressure anymore. I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore. Baker's still going to be in Sam Darnold's head because Baker went out and did what he did. Now Sam Darnold has to step up and prove that he was the right choice for the Panthers.
Yup. So Ben McAdoo is now going to have to answer questions about exactly why Sean McVay was able to take Baker Mayfield on 2 days and get that performance out of him. When he had him for, 13 weeks? 11 weeks, whatever it was? And couldn't get, let me rephrase that. Had him for training camp, preseason, and then 12 weeks.
He didn't have a full training camp, if I recall. He came in kind of late.
He had training camp.
No, he didn't have OTAs. He did have
correct.
Training camp.
He had training camp. He didn't have OTAs. You're right. He had training camp. Went through camp, went through preseason, went through 12 weeks or whatever it was, and Ben McAdoo couldn't get that out of Baker Mayfield. Sean McVay had him for 48 freaking hours and made Baker look like a legend last night. You got those clips pulled up by chance? Can I get the play itself? Let's just listen to the play itself. This is the play that won the game with 10 seconds left on the clock. Baker Mayfield with the football.
2nd and 10. Mayfield to the end zone to Jefferson. Is that possible? Touchdown. This is impossible. They go 98 yards. That's good for 23.
Oh, you got Atwell right here who can work to the inside. Baker is locked in right here on the safety. Watch the movement by Daron Harmon at the snap of the football. He works to the middle of the field, meaning, okay, I got a shot here at one-on-one to the left. Takes it, and again, the accuracy downfield with receivers he's never thrown with. We saw it with Skoranek.
(17-16), Los Angeles.
What do you mean, is this even possible, Al Michaels? Don't you believe in miracles? Yes! I thought you did. Anyway, I added Kirk's part in there primarily and predominantly because I thought it was a really good illustration of what Baker was doing last night, right? What was the accusation against him in Carolina? He panics and he just does read one, read two, wing it, right? Last night, Baker Mayfield saw the field well. And on that play, he played that exceptionally well. He dropped off. He looked right. He got the safety that was lined up on his left over Jefferson. He looked right. He got the safety to dive out towards the middle of the field. They were playing a man with a single high cover, one safety. He looked to the right. He got the safety who was shaded left to bail out to the far corner of the end zone, and he knew that Jefferson would win a foot race between him and the safety to the corner, which made it one-on-one versus the cornerback. And, cornerback v. wide receiver one-on-one in the NFL, you throw it to that guy every time, right? If you can't win a one-on-one aerial battle with a cornerback more often than you lose it, you're not an NFL wide receiver. We know that dude is. So Bake looks right, draws the safety off his left with his eyes. He bails out, runs to the middle of the field. As soon as he checks out of the peripheral and sees the safety crossing across the hash, crossing across midfield, moving toward the hash on the other side, he turns the head back, floats it into the corner, puts it on an absolute dime. Ben McAdoo, why you couldn't get out of Baker in Carolina? Because you didn't play to his strengths. You just ran your offense. Doesn't matter who fits into it. A good offensive coordinator gets guys to fit within his system. A great offensive coordinator gets his system to fit his guys. Which one is Ben McAdoo? Which one's Sean McVay?
It counts. I got the eye out there. Dude, I've been destroyed this week anyway. I think it's funny that people now all of a sudden, well, it's the Raiders. Look how bad they are. Well, the Raiders have been winning, and the narrative out there before this game is that the Raiders had a shot to make the playoffs. So how quickly it flips when no, never mind. The Raiders just aren't good. And you know what?
The Raiders are 5-8. Let's not pretend.
I was going to say, let me finish.
Sorry.
You're right. The Raiders aren't good, but you know what? The Rams weren't either. The Rams had a worse record than the Raiders, and they came in and they won the game. So, I mean, in the end, what does it really mean? It means more for Baker, obviously, because there's a chance maybe he stays where he is next year with all the injuries to Stafford. And it means a lot to Carolina because it's a bad look for the Panthers.
I agree. Now, I'll say this. Sorry, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, so I apologize.
No.
Before
it's all right. I deserve it. You know why?
Wes said so.
Because every time you try to talk, I interrupt you.
Wes said so.
That's the only time. I'm going to turn my mic off now.
Before we start going bananas here, let's see what the Rams do against Green Bay. Let's see what they do against Seattle, right? Because I will acknowledge that it is equally as possible that Baker comes out against Green Bay and stinks up the joint at Lambeau. It is possible he comes out and sucks. You want to know why I root for Baker Mayfield? I'm going to take us a minute late, but I'm going to get this post-game clip. I'm a fan of Baker Mayfield because based on how it ended in Cleveland, Baker had every right to set that building on fire when he walked out the door. He didn't. Based on how it went in Charlotte, Baker acted like an absolute professional in Charlotte. Anybody argue with that? I thought Baker Mayfield handled himself like an absolute pro in Charlotte from start to finish. Listen to what Baker Mayfield said last night after he won that football game. This is Baker's presser.
Yeah, I don't know if you can write it any better than that. Obviously, we'd like to be a little bit more stress-free, but it's a pretty damn good story. I'll be honest with you. So it's special. That was my first rodeo doing that. I'll say that. Yeah. You know, when it comes to critical situations and kind of, you know, those crucial downs, especially when the clock's rolling like that, just putting the ball up for guys like that and knowing the clock mechanics. You know, I had Brian Allen screaming in my face what the cadence was for that because we didn't cover it, and Sean's yelling in my ear as well. And but yeah, ball is ball, and it's when you have guys like that around you, they put you in a good spot and they help you out, and those guys did it.
Baker is a damn pro. That's why I'm rooting for this kid. That right there. Jerry starts that presser out. He's like, dude, I am blessed. I'm lucky to be here. I appreciate them taking a chance. And what did he do? Go create a situation where he could once again headbutt a dude wearing a helmet when he's not. I will say, Baker, don't do that. Please, don't do that anymore. Please. Please. CTE is bad. I don't like enough of you football players are getting CTE just from playing the game. Maybe don't give it to yourself.
Well, Rob, as a wrestling fan, you should understand that there's a way to do such a thing to where you're not really hurting yourself. He doesn't appear to be hurting himself. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, Rob, it's a work. Okay.
Who headbutts another dude wearing a helmet when you are not is not sitting there thinking about the strategy of it. All right, let's take a break.
I tell you what, though, that's my guy right there. If I'm on the field and he's doing that stuff, that's the mentality you want.
Oh, I love the dude. Joe and Greer texted, can you imagine if after everything OBJ ends back up with the Rams and Baker? I can't, but I'll say this. I would love to see Baker Mayfield one more time again with a wide receiver who gives the bleep it, OBJ's down there somewhere option. But the fact that OBJ had Gerald Jones looking to give him stupid money and couldn't get past the physical, yeah, that ain't it.
Yeah, you don't need OBJ. You just need Cooper Kupp to come back.
Just get Coop back. Baker with Coop would be scary. Baker with Coop, you know what it would be? What Baker with Christian McCaffrey should have been. But that's just me. All right, I got a bunch of thoughts in the stream. Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, Twitter.com/TheFanUpstate, or search and subscribe to The Rob Brown Show on YouTube or Twitch. I'll talk to you all on the stream coming up in a minute. Your texts, your phone calls are welcome. We got a lot more. It's Friday. Let's have a little fun on The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate
Warehouse.
All right, stream, be right back. All right, dudes and dudettes, we back. How's everybody? Joe, welcome in. Steven, Keegan, Kevin, Skrilla. Good to see all you guys and gals. All right, let's go all the way back to the start of the chat. Luke said, I think the Panthers are becoming a mill for other great teams. Trade value is important, Luke. Trade value, I mean, you're building young if you're Carolina right now. Steven said, Baker! A lot of people said Baker last night. Dude absolutely killed it. You can dance if you want to. Want to. It took me longer to get what you meant by want to than I'm proud of. But I got it now.
If you were in the moment, I mean, when he did it, it would have.
Yeah, I had to go back in time a little bit. Alexa, play the one that got away. Sign the Panthers. Sign the two that got away. The two that got away would be an amazing rock song. Yes, Skrilla, the Raiders are kind of bad right now, but it's a damn good win, right? For 2 days. For 2 days? Trey, my guy. Dude, I didn't know you were in the hospital, buddy. I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah, get the hell up out of there, man. Let me know all serious stuff. Evidently, I have asthma. Oh, that sucks. My little brother has asthma, and it has been a bane of his existence.
I'm guessing the way the weather is around here
Doesn't
lately.
help.
Yeah.
Doesn't help. Hope you feel better, buddy. We're glad you popped in the hospital. That sucks, but get well soon, my man. Get back out into that real life. We're pulling for you, pal. Yeah, exactly. Half of the time that Baker was becoming a Ram was spent on an airplane. Baker knows how to make the sausage. Yes, he does.
Or he did last night anyway.
Yes, he does. Yes, he did. Did you catch what he said at the end of his statement? Ball is ball. That might be that's a new catchphrase, man. Ball is ball. So is Darnold done? No, quite the opposite. In fact, there are dirt sheet reports coming out of Carolina that Carolina is heavily invested in seeing what Sam Darnold does the rest of the year to potentially re-sign him and bring him back. That's a commercial, not a rejoin.
Yeah.
That's the rejoin, Lonzo.
Yeah, you can do it now. I mean, you can turn your mic on now and talk. Hey, at least you didn't talk. I mean, you could have started talking.
That's the rejoin. Welcome back to Rob Brown Shows on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Keegan popped into the Facebook chat, facebook.com/the Fan Upstate, or search and subscribe to the Rob Brown Show on YouTube or Twitch. Said, is Sam Darnold done? No. In fact, if you get into this sort of thing, the dirt sheet reports are that the Panthers are heavily invested in what Sam Darnold does for the remainder of this season because they would like to see Sam Darnold perform at a high enough level that they could re-sign him for another year and not spend their first-round draft pick on a quarterback, but elsewhere on the football field. Listen, I don't want this to happen. I would love, now that Baker's gone, love for Sam Darnold to just come out and find that gear, right? I would love to be able to say that the problem with Sam Darnold was Adam Gase in New York and Matt Rule in Carolina, right? I hope that Sam Darnold has a QB renaissance that we can look at and we can go, hey, it really was bad coaches, right? It really was bad coaches. Adam Gase in New York was trash and slowed down the development of Sam Darnold. Matt Rule in Carolina was trash and slowed down the development of Sam Darnold. And now that he's got a guy in there, he's able to turn the corner. But here's my question. Does anybody think that Ben McAdoo, who we watched get nothing out of Baker Mayfield, and then Baker go to LA, and in 2 days, Sean McVay got that performance out of Baker Mayfield last night? Does anybody think that it is going to be under Wilks and McAdoo that Sam Darnold is going to have some crazy comeback and become a franchise QB? Zoe, you got any faith in that being a reality?
Here's what I have faith in: how bad the schedule is in front of the Panthers. And I'm worried that it will make things look better than what they are.
That's a real possibility.
And I know you're kind of giving Wilks a pass, but Wilks decided to keep McAdoo. He could have gotten rid of him and brought someone else in. So he is tied to him for keeping him. So if it's McAdoo's fault, then it's Wilks' fault.
You're not wrong, but also my question in that situation becomes, if he did can Ben McAdoo, who's he bringing in that spot? Because he's not an offensive play caller, right?
Well, he could use the Bill Belichick method. Hey, you're calling offense.
Calls by committee.
Yes, sir. I've never done that before. How hard can it be?
Texter says Sam Darnold is the Ben Simmons of the NFL. That's well constructed. Well constructed, Texter. Look, I don't think that Sam Darnold is going to come out and like just be a different guy now. I think Sam Darnold is who Sam Darnold is. What is going to look ridiculous for the Carolina Panthers, and this will be a detriment, is if Baker Mayfield keeps that up for the rest of the year, right? If Sean McVay goes out there and gets that Baker Mayfield out of Baker Mayfield for the rest of the year. Now, Rams lost 6 in a row going into last night. If they go out and they run the table the rest of the way, which again, I doubt, right? Green Bay is a winnable game for LA. Denver's a winnable game for everybody. Then they're at San Diego, scratch that, LA Chargers. Then they're at Seattle. The first 2 are very winnable. The second 2 are, you're going to need the best you can get if you want to win those 2. But if they go like 3 or 4, 3 out of 4 down the stretch, and Baker Mayfield looks good in those 3 out of 4, or looks good in 4 out of 4 down the stretch, at that point, you can look at it and go, Sean McVay went out there and was able to extract the best out of Baker Mayfield. What the hell, Carolina? Right? You had that guy on the bench and you went with PJ Walker. You had that guy on the bench and you went back to Sam Darnold. You had that guy on the bench and then you kicked him off of it. They didn't kick him out. Baker asked for his release, but he asked for his release because he lost his job to PJ Walker.
Because he got moved back to QB3.
Yeah.
I mean, and that bothers anybody. I mean, that's a major demotion right there.
If the boss came in to me and was like, hey, we need you to be the overnight producer moving forward, I'd ask for my release too. Right? There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't know. It depends on what kind of freedom you have and
True story.
Much experiment.
I could work naked.
You're a night guy anyway.
I am a night guy, but I want my time at night. I want to be working at night. That's when I play Warzone. Anyway, the critiques will be fair. And again, it's a hypothetical. The critique will be fair if Sam Darnold sucks the rest of the year and Baker goes out to Sean Mech LA and tears it up. Will he? I don't know. Frankly, I don't really have a reason to believe that he will. I don't want to sit here and pretend like Baker Mayfield had an all-world game last night. He had an okay game. He just had a very dramatic final 3 minutes in which he, whatted up and went out there and won the game on a 98-yard touchdown drive with less than 2 minutes to go, threw a TD pass with 10 seconds on the clock. That takes rocks, dude. That takes stones. And Bake knocked it out. If that Baker continues to progress and Sean McVay is able to get that much out of Baker the rest of the year, Carolina's going to look real bad. And you know what happens when you have a team that has a light shined on them like McVay and Baker will do if he goes out to LA and is able to run the table the Final Four? Do you know what happens in that situation? If you're a free agent, you look at that team and you go, they have no idea how to cater to talent. They have no idea how to cater to talent. That's a bad look for us. And now all of a sudden it becomes a little harder to get free agents to want to play in Carolina. Not come to play in Carolina, want to play in Carolina. That's bad, man. I'm not saying that is what will happen. I am damn sure saying it's a possibility.
None of these quarterbacks are playing all world right now. Like you said, Baker looked decent and did that amazing thing on the last drive, but that wasn't, he had to drive where Akers fumbled. He looked fairly good for most of the game for someone who just got there. You still got to remember, he just got there. He wasn't given a fair shake as soon as Wilks took the helm. And in the end, he's going to be tied to this team. So if he wins them all, it looks bad on Steve Wilks. It looks bad on McAdoo. It absolutely does. And if you're David Tepper and you're trying to make a decision and you see, okay, Baker was a professional. Everyone says he was. He asked out. They let him out. He went out there and he won the rest of his games while we struggled the rest of the way. There's no way that you could keep Steve Wilks and Ben McAdoo. And I think they're a package deal now, again, because Wilks decided to keep McAdoo.
Like I said, I don't blame Steve Wilks for that. I don't blame Steve Wilks for that because I don't know what other options he would have had to fill that role because it ain't him, right? And remember, not only was it McAdoo, but it wasn't his staff of offensive guys under McAdoo. So he may not have had anybody that he liked more to elevate into that role as OC if he let McAdoo go. What Steve Wilks is trying to do now is to have enough success as the head coach that when this offseason rolls off, if he can get that job, he also gets the ability to go to Scott Fitterer and go, I want Ben McAdoo gone, and have Fitzy go, whatever you want, coach.
And by the way, I want the Panthers to win the rest of the games and win the NFC South. I absolutely do. And if it means that Sam Darnold shines, good. That's awesome. And saying that you wish Baker well doesn't mean that you wish the Panthers ill.
Yeah. Again, Baker was, as far as I'm concerned, a pro's pro with what happened in Charlotte. Baker had every right. It'd have been a bad look, but Baker would have had every right when he got benched for PJ Walker to come out in the media and go, yeah, bleep this. I'm done here. This team has no offensive identity. This team consistently makes absolutely terrible decisions in regards to talent. This team is wasting a year of my career. This sucks. I'm out. But he did. He was gracious. He said, hey, look, I'm going to do all I can. When PJ Walker was tossing the, 3 touchdowns he threw, Baker was the first guy off the bench to go head pat him or head butt him or whatever. Head himself like a pro. Asking for his release is fine with me. I got no problem with that. I'm pulling for Baker. I hope that Baker does well in LA. I'm pulling for the guy. But that being said, it'll be a bad look on Carolina if Sean McVay takes Baker Mayfield and lets him have a QB renaissance. It'll be a bad look for Carolina. It will be you got to get rid of the coaching staff that's there now. Wilks may be a part of that.
Also, keep in mind, Baker has had one of the worst QBRs, if not the worst. And I think it's still the worst.
I think there's only one guy that had a worse QBR through 11 weeks of a season than Bake did.
If he brings him back to middle of the pack as far as QBR goes, that's
in 5 games.
Yeah, that's a major accomplishment.
Oh, yeah. Texter says the Panthers have been the poster child for they don't know how to cater to talent for a while. Maybe. This will be a bad look. Texter says they need to bring back Joe Brady. Should have never let Joe Brady go. Joe Brady was the sacrificial lamb for Matt Rule. Of those 2 guys, you should have axed Rule and let Joe Brady become the interim head coach. That might have been a better look. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1. If you got any thoughts on this, you are welcome to hit us up. 844-326-3663, 844-FAN phone. Oh, would you look at that? Matt Rule is trending on Twitter. I'm sure there will be jokes. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Oh, you can't see that with the logo there, can you?
Yeah, you probably shouldn't put that up there, though, because it goes flagged.
Says Matt Rule watching Baker Mayfield throw that game-winning touchdown last night. That's a good joke. I appreciate it.
You know that the thing you were talking about, Samoa Joe. Someone put up on Twitter of him just moving out of people's ways.
It's hilarious, dude. It's my favorite gimmick in wrestling.
They even went back so far as TNA when they had the octagon-shaped ring.
Oh yeah,
It's just kind of moving.
For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, I'm a big Samoa Joe fan. Samoa Joe has my favorite move in all of wrestling, which is where when somebody jumps at him, top rope, tope suicina, whatever they call it, suicide dive. Anytime somebody does a diving move at Joe, his move is to just step out of the way and let them hit the ground. It's one of those things I was thinking about, like, who else could pull off that move and make it as comical as when Joe does it?
You got to be that size.
Yeah.
So Kevin Owens could do it.
Yeah, KO could do it. And on top of that, you got to be it gives you a look of being a smart wrestler.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I've said for many years, if I got into pro wrestling, I think one of my gimmicks would be a pro wrestling fan who turned into a pro wrestler, like who knows how the moves work in kayfabe and avoids them with kayfabe defense or out of kayfabe defense. All right, let's see what else we got here. Stephen said Rashad. Rashad? One thing you can't take away from Baker is that he can prepare himself. Doesn't mean the team around him will, but he has proven on multiple occasions he can prepare. Yeah, dude. Again, do I think that he has the entire Sean McVay playbook ready to go? No, but he damn sure had enough to win that game last night. For sure. I do think I have everything Zach Wilson could learn from the post-game speech. Do you take responsibility for that? No. Zach Wilson went from like, this guy might be my favorite player to what a jackass.
Zach Wilson said what everybody wants the guys to be honest. And then when they are, all they do is criticize them. Because if he feels that way, like, hey, it wasn't my fault.
When did we hit a point where we conflate honesty with being a jerk, right? Like I'd
like to know.
I've got a friend. I've got an acquaintance who is a royal butthole, like capital A butthole.
I'm working on it, man.
And every time somebody's like, dude, you're being mean right now, she is like, I'm not mean. I'm just honest. And it's like, no, you're a jerk, dude. Like, I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying you're being a jerk. You don't have to be a jerk to be honest. Next up, Heisman Talk. Who's going to walk on that stage tomorrow night, shock the world, and give it to Stet the Jet Mailman Bennett? I'm going to go ahead and tell you it will not be Stetson Bennett, Skrilla, and not through any fault of his own. And we're going to talk about this later on in the show. Stetson Bennett is surrounded by more NFL talent than any other quarterback right now, and that is going to actually hurt him, I think. But we'll see. My friend who is a Jets fan still has faith in Darnold. I asked who we would want, Darnold or Wilson. He said Wilson. That's because he's a Jets fan. Trey said, I think Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers might be in the same sorority. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show, wrapping up hour number 1 on a Friday. We have a little fun on the show today, ladies and gentlemen. Phone lines open, 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. If you want to come at us on the phone lines, you're welcome to. You can also text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we'll read them on the air. You can also tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word. And let me just say that the show is better and more fun when you guys are a part of it. Having a good day over in the Facebook chat so far. Got a couple of tweets coming into the show. I'll get to those in a minute. I'll wrap this up primarily because we've got the Views from Mint Street podcast that is going to be dropped this afternoon. Lonzo and I will record that right after the show today, and then we will drop it for you later on this afternoon. And while it is our game preview for Carolina at Seattle, which is a massive game, I think you lose this game, the season's done, right? With Tampa beating New Orleans, I think you lose this game, the season's done. It is the biggest game of the year thus far. We're going to give you the X's and O's. Lonzo, I suspect we might have a couple of minutes of conversation regarding the Baker Mayfield scenario.
Maybe even a few.
Maybe even a few minutes. We'll see how it goes. My man, Chris Lewis, president of the Greenville Triumph, just shot me a text. He's a Giants guy, right? Where Ben McAdoo was OC for a hot minute.
I need a sounder that says name drop.
Yeah, I know. Humble brag. I got friends in high place. Okay. Ben McAdoo, he said, I'm going to quote him here. Yo, exclamation point. Your boy told you Ben McApoo was terrible, and you didn't want to believe the shortcomings were his fault because of the mirage that some of his New York Giants rankings created. I live that pain. I heart you, so I won't tell you. Told you. No, go ahead, Chris. That's what we do here on this show, man. That's what we do on the show. You may drop all the told yous you want.
And I'm going to say this every time because I can't help it, and you may not think it's funny out there, but you need to put a side-by-side picture. McAdoo is man versus food. Anytime he pops up on my screen, I start laughing because I just see him trying to eat a really big hamburger or something before time runs out. That's him. And maybe it's the hair, it's the size of it's everything. That might be where he goes next after the end of the season, because chances are he's not going to be an offensive coordinator, or at least not for the Panthers.
Texas said, is Steve Wilkes the dude or is he just interim? He's interim right now. This is, as I said, from the moment he got the interim tag, this is an audition for Steve Wilkes. Steve Wilkes is considered one of the front runners for an NFL coaching job somewhere, an NFL head coaching job somewhere next year. I thought there were multiple reasons that Matt Rule was let go. There was the reason that Nebraska was in the wings. If David Tepper let Matt Rule go, it meant that Matt Rule could go to Nebraska, could get that contract worked out, could be in place before the end of the season and get himself a fat deal. It also meant he didn't have to sit around and collect $40 million over the next 4 or 5 years. He could get it all up front for Nebraska, and it meant that $40 million would not come from David Tepper. It would go from Nebraska, and Tep was off the hook. He didn't owe Matt Rule another dime. So the last reason I think they made that move was because Carolina wanted to take the opportunity to give Steve Wilkes an on-the-field audition, right? You are a front runner for the HC job next year? Cool, man. Go out there and show us what you got this year, because if you can take this cluster bleep that is Matt Rule's program and get anything out of it, maybe you are the dude. But the point that I'm making is, and again, it's just one game. And really, it was like 2 drives in one game where Baker looked great. Maybe 3. I'll give you 3. 3 drives out of all of them yesterday that Baker looked good. But if that's a baseline and Sean McVay's going to get that out of Baker moving forward, then you had best believe that it is going to look bad on McAdoo and Wilkes. That they couldn't get that out of Baker, and Sean McVay got it out of Baker in 2 days. Texas said, just wanted to take a minute to say both of you guys do a fantastic job. Great mix of sports and entertainment. Love the show. Well, thank you very much. And you're welcome. When we come back, college football's postseason awards were handed out last night. All of them but the Heisman. We'll give you the list of winners from last night, and I'll tell you who's going to win the Heisman tomorrow night. I think. We'll see. That's next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
So I was just curious because you know how I keep saying that Wilkes is the same guy as Matt Rule. Matt Rule the last 2 years, 5-12, 5-11. Before that, Ron Rivera, 5-11. So unfortunately, this is normal for the Panthers right now. How many games have the Panthers won so far this year?
4.
Right. So I'm just saying, I
3 of them against the NFC South.
This unfortunately is more the norm than
The exception.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple Super Bowl appearances, and there are some 11 to 12 win, like Ron Rivera, like every 2 or 3 years would have a good team. Then he'd live off that for a couple years, and then he'd be on the hot seat, and then he'd win again. It's so up and down. Can they find a guy that's going to steadily make them better every year? And I don't know. I don't think they have that guy right now.
Oh. I can't explain why, nor would I complain about it, but Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, just got tweeted into my timeline.
It's been trending. I don't know if she died or what. I looked.
No, nope. I will not live in that world.
She's pretty old, but she's trended a couple days this week. Anytime I've looked at Mistress, it usually shows a bunch of politics and things like that. So
she is 71, and if I may, still got it.
she doesn't swing your way though. So
Elvira does.
no, she doesn't.
If any of y'all tell me you didn't have a crush on Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, I will call you an absolute liar. I switched it up, Lonzo, and I'm trying a berry smoothie today, and I'm very apprehensive about it.
How can you be apprehensive when you've already?
I haven't tasted it yet. So
Oh, okay, all right. It's like you already know what it tastes like.
it's not bad. They put what are the little tiny seeds? Chia seeds? I think chia seeds they put in there.
Why?
And the smoothie's not bad, but it's got these little tiny seeds.
That sounds like a choking hazard. Why would you do that? Are chia seeds what makes a chia pet? Don't know. You mean flax seeds?
There is a 5-star QB out of Columbus, Georgia that we would really like to have here. And we are working our butts off to recruit that kid. He's got NIL offers from other schools in the neighborhood of $800,000 a year. I reference that for no specific or detailed reason at all. All I'm saying to you, valued members of the XYZU Booster Club and Collective, is that we
No, I mean, for all my complaints, Kevin, about Ron Rivera, he's probably the best coach because Super Bowl. And he did have some seasons that were really good. He just was horribly inconsistent.
Woo. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
So excited. We got back to our roots in that last hour and did nothing but NFL. Felt great to be who we are.
Flax seeds. That's it. That's what it is, Kevin.
Except it's flax, I think.
Yeah,
It's
flax.
not, but- yeah,
Flax
but-
seeds.
But still, why put seeds in it? It just
I guess
for
they're
texture.
healthy. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, they help you be regular. Flax does.
I actually think that's right, Lonzo.
It's absolutely right. I know because I'm old and we know those things.
So your boy, you may remember a handful of weeks ago, was telling you that the lady friend and I are uber competitive about everything, right? Like we could be sitting at the house playing Go Fish every single day. Every single day, we both play Wordle, you know, the word game puzzle that swept the nation. And every day we send each other our Wordle results, like how many words it took to guess the right word. And the amount of smack talk over who can guess the correct 5-letter word first is stupid. We're competitive about everything. And we made a bet about who is going to lose 20 pounds first. And I got down about 12. And then I'm not going to lie, I had one of those runs, though, where like you slip up and you eat a hamburger because you're out with the boys. So you have a hamburger and a couple of brewskis, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I fell off the wagon. What the hell? I'll do some chicken wings and fries today, and then I'll get back on it tomorrow. And then the next day it's like, what the hell? I'll grab a pizza tonight, and then I'll get back on. And then you
would think you would learn
6 of the 16.
Yeah, you would think you would learn because last time you slipped up in a major way, you ended up barefoot in studio. So, I mean, you think you would learn these things.
I think I would. So I got some stuff coming up next year that I want to be in shape for. I am hoping to wiggle my way back onto TV next year in some capacity, hopefully calling games. So I want to drop some weight. Like I've told you guys in the past, I got my job as a TV reporter. When I got hired as a TV reporter, and I was talking to my boss at the time, and he's like, what's your goals in television? I was like, I want to be a sports dude, right? I want to be a sports anchor locally. I'd like to get called up to Bristol, be a Sports Center anchor, get called up from there to call some games, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, dude, you've got the talent, but you're going to need to drop about 40 lbs. And this was 20 lbs ago, right? So I'm like, all right, I need to get in shape for next year. Like, I can't screw around anymore. So it's like 20 pounds by Christmas. That gives me a month. So after Thanksgiving, I said 20 pounds by Christmas. That gives me a month. I can knock that out, right? Because the majority of my weight is beer and fat, cholesterol. So instead of what I used to do, which was grab a fat guy snack that I would munch down on before, during, and after the show, and then grab some fast food on the way home, get home, snack through the day, have a beer or 6 at night, and go to bed. I was like, all right, I'm changing it up. Protein smoothies in the AM to get me through the show and lunch. Like an air-fried chicken breast for lunch in the afternoon and another smoothie at bedtime, and that's going to be my day. So it also turns out that ice cream, and hot fudge in a blender does not count as a healthy smoothie, apparently. So this morning, I made an actual smoothie. A fruit and veggie and protein smoothie. And it's not bad. There's, it's like blueberries, strawberries, pineapple, and flax seeds.
Frozen or fresh?
Frozen.
Okay.
Because you can buy the frozen ones, you buy them in this big bag.
Yeah.
About yay big. And then basically you just take your measuring cup, and it's like 1 cup of this, 1 cup of soy milk, like 6 ice cubes, blended together, and that's your smoothie.
Why does it have to have soy milk?
Because it's better for you than regular milk.
Okay, if you say so.
It is not better than regular milk, but it is better for you.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Yeah. I'm a whole milk guy all day. All right. You can call me Liberab, but I'm steak, potatoes, and whole milk every day. So I made this thing, and they have it has flax seeds in it, right? So I took the first hit off the protein smoothie during that last break. I've been carrying it around with me since 6:45 this morning.
So you wanted it to be warm?
No.
Okay.
It was super thick when I got it. And like, I don't want to drink ice cream. Like, I wanted to kind of level out. Anyway, I drank it. How do you people eat healthy all the time? How do you do it? There's a, I won't say his name, but there's a guy in the Riot, right, in our supporters club, who is super in shape, right? And he eats healthy all the time. Like, he's the dude that will try to convince you, Lonzo, that steamed broccoli with no salt is a meal.
I think steamed broccoli with no salt is pretty good.
I think it's good. It is not a meal. I'm not sitting down for dinner with my bowl of only steamed broccoli.
If you did, would you eat it with chopsticks?
I can't answer that question. I've never done it before. I've never just sat down with a bowl of steamed broccoli and thought, this is delightful. Now you put some steamed broccoli on a plate with like a big New York strip or a ribeye and some mashed potatoes. Now you got yourself a dinner. But just a bowl of steamed broccoli, nothing else on it. How do you like? I am gonna smash through this fruit smoothie with flax seeds. But how do you people exist only on this?
If you do this, you may have to use the facilities in this building because
God, I hope not. That place is a war zone.
yeah, especially earlier. Flaxseed is it will help you be regular, which is a good thing. You should be being regular is a good thing, you know. And it's a natural way of doing that sort of thing.
You know, about 90% of the reason I can't get into the health craze is because every time that I'm like, yeah, I'm eating healthy, you start getting hit with like, what are your macros, bro? What's your protein intake? I'm like, I don't know, whatever comes in a pineapple and some broccoli. That's what I got. But the number one reason I can't get into the health craze is because every time that I start talking about eating healthy, somebody asks me how my poop is. Don't worry about it. I don't think like.
See, I go the scientific way, or you know, maybe even the Southern way, and ask if you're regular. And Rob has to go that way.
There is no conversation that my grandmother, who I love dearly, Grandma Deanie is the best. I love my grandma. Zoe, you would love my grandma. She's an amazing human being, but there is not a conversation in the world that my grandma and old Southern women everywhere love to have more than, how's your poop?
See,
don't worry about it, Grandma.
I would love her because I would have a long conversation about that, hopefully in a room full of people that made all of them uncomfortable, because that would be great.
She asked me that at Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, it's important. It's important for your health, and she's just concerned.
We're sitting at Thanksgiving
She wants to make sure you're not holding in too many toxins and things, you know.
We're sitting at Thanksgiving dinner. Lady friends there, the madre, the brother, the sister-in-law, my little nephew, my uncles, my aunts, my cousins. And we're sitting there, and Courtney and I were talking about, you know, like we're in this race to lose 20 pounds. We're trying to get healthy. Like Thanksgiving is our RIP fat guy foods. We both want to drop some LBs before the new year, whatever. And we were talking to my little brother about it. Because he and the sister-in-law are healthier than we. They're both, I mean, they've, you know, put on the comfort weight. But they're both healthier than me. And the sister-in-law is like the messiah of the air fryer. And she's walking us through all these air fryer recipes. Yeah, well, if you want to make chicken, you can do this. And if you like fried chicken, instead of breading, do this and sprinkle this on it. And it's only got this many calories and it adds protein and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, these are good ideas, you know, Googling these recipes, saving them, whatever. We're like two minutes into this conversation about how my brother and his wife lost all this weight by, instead of frying up everything they want to eat in a cast iron, they started doing it in the air fryer instead. And my grandma just like, how are your BMs? Grandma, there's a plate of Thanksgiving food right here, just right in front of me. She's like, well, I understand, but if you're trying to lose weight, you need to keep track of your BMs. Grandma, stop.
When she's asking about keeping track, is she wanting to know about consistency or frequency? I mean, you know, those are both really important questions.
Oh, it's frequency, consistency, texture, time. She was blown away. Because she's like, what's your time?
What's your TSP?
Is that time spent pooping? All right. Figured that out.
It was a radio term. I knew you would get it pretty quickly. Yeah.
She's like, what time do you go? Are you asking me about my bowel evacuation time? She's like, yeah, what's your schedule? I'm not on a schedule. I don't have an alarm set for it. She's like, right. But like, what time do you go? Like morning, lunch, afternoon? I'm like, I go when I go, now. She's like, well, that's not good. You should have a time. You used to have a schedule. And she's got no problem going, I go in the mornings. Like I wake up and I get out of bed and I stretch and I have my coffee. And
I
go.
think, and this is one of those things where
What the hell are we talking
I just
about?
believe that most people are this way. I believe most people have a schedule. I do. I think if you don't, you're more on the odd side.
I don't have a schedule. When I have to go, I go, oop, I'm scheduling this right now. It's scheduled.
You would think you would learn as someone in radio that you try to go when you can, which is before you get to work.
But I can't put it down on my Google Calendar.
Why not? Well, you don't need to. You don't need a reminder. You get up, you do this, you go to the bathroom, and afterwards you do it. Yes, it does. It absolutely does.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the executive
I think you
producer.
I think you should put it on the poll.
Geraldine Reitzel.
I think you should put it on poll. See, you going Geraldine. You think that's funny?
That's my grandma's name.
Yeah. Well, that was also a unfortunate nickname when between my cousin and I. My cousin Frank, who I would call Francine, he would call Geraldine whenever we would be getting ready to fight, which never happened because I would have destroyed him. But
Listen.
Shout out to Grandma Geraldine. She knows where it's at, and your life would be better if you schedule things.
But she'd like to, and also time it's at. And also texture of it when it's at.
I think you should put a poll out there. Do people go at the same time every day?
I am not putting a poll on our Twitter account about other people's pooping habits. I'm not doing that.
I'm curious if Mark and Diesel are both
this conversation out of Diesel, Lonzo, not you.
If they're both normal like me and schedule things. I mean, you get up; it's part of your morning routine. That's the first thing you do.
Now, if we wanted to be funny, what we would do is
we'd have to try really, really hard for that.
Would be around 3:30. Tell you to text and ask whatever hosts happen to be on around 3:30 about their bowel movement habits.
Well, if he's in studio, I have to be here to make sure things are going well because we have a trainee working, and I'll just ask him myself. I don't care. I'll text him right now. You want me to text him right now? I will text him right now.
No, I don't want you sending out text or tweets or Facebook posts asking, inquiring, or otherwise discussing people's bathroom habit. I don't need it.
All right. During the break, when we take our next break, I think you should go do a survey to everyone in the building right now and ask them.
I just told you 30 seconds.
We know that there are certain people who are absolutely on a schedule in this building because they're in the restroom at the same time every day.
Literally, you guys want to know why it is that Zoe and I go on breaks on you can plot out on a graph what breaks we put up the be right back screen on the screen. You want to know why? Because we work it around the schedule of the people that go into our upstairs radio station bathroom and commit biochemical warfare against us and everyone in what I assume is a 20 to 30 mile radius of this building.
But they are consistent in many ways, including time of day. So there's that.
I want to be as passionate about anything in my life as old Southern ladies are about knowing when, where, and how you poop. I just don't get it.
I don't think it's just an old lady thing, but maybe it is.
Texture says, I agree with that. Also, amongst taking a poll about pooping, ask them with your shoes off, Rob. Why are you combining those two subjects? You terrible person. Mike B tweets in and says, as soon as my feet hit the floor, within 30 minutes of that moment, I'm in the bathroom. And I'm not reading the rest of that, Mike. Describing how the rest of that process goes for him. Thanks for the text, Mike. He ends it with, hope you have a great weekend.
That was nice of him.
Texter says, lighten up, Francis. Oh, I am very light. I had a great morning in that regard. How's that?
I was going to say, I can tell you how to lighten up, Francis. It's to be consistent and go at the same time every day. That's how you'll lighten up.
Joe and Greer said, I knew it. Grandma's that female friend you were talking about earlier, LMAO. I remember the whole flock story you said before. LOL. That's from Joe and Greer. Yeah, Joe. My grandmother, I think I've told you this, though. My grandma, a very strict Southern traditional Irish Catholic lady who would never drop a middle finger salute on somebody, would never drop a middle finger salute. She came up with the greatest way to do that in my life. So she goes like this, the whole flock. And she just throws all the fingers at you and gives you the whole flock of birds. You don't get a bird, you get the whole flock of birds.
Because she's very generous.
Yeah. Texas said the only BM I need to hear about this morning is Baker Mayfield. Baker!
Well done.
Yeah.
Listen to the entire last hour.
Texas says, hey guys, always enjoy listening to the show while I'm driving into work. More power to you, Rob, for trying to be healthy. I'm going to be over here in the corner with my taco dogs and my newest creation, the sloppy dog, which is a layer of sloppy joes on a deli roll and then a hot dog and then a slice of cheese and then another small layer of sloppy joe. That actually sounds delicious.
What kind of
Dexter.
cheese are we talking though? I think the cheese is very important in that scenario.
You just got to go classic American in that case, right?
I don't know. Some cheddar might work in there.
Cheddar be fine. Cheddar be fine, but I think I'd go classic American. All right. That, ladies and gentlemen, and I say this with all the sincerity that I can muster in the world, is my most regrettable segment of radio I've ever done
So far.
so far.
You got to add that in there.
Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, let's talk college football postseason awards. We have got a bunch of them that were handed out last night. And of course, tomorrow is our Heisman Trophy celebration. Let's talk Heisman, shall we? We'll do that when we come back. Those of you hitting the restroom during the break, I wish you the best of luck. I hope your texture is what you want it to be. God, I hate me and everybody else. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, stream got to read, and we'll be right back. Stick around, don't go nowhere.
helping you be the difference.
I feel like Army Navy is always an under game.
Get Staples. Save 40% on.
What she just said, 16 years.
Save 40% on. Save 40% on.
You are cordially invited.
Any idea what Fromunda cheese is?
40% on custom printed holiday.
I'm not that 1%er.
So you can say thanks for a great year.
Not a fancy cheese guy?
Come on over, all for less. For everything you need printed this holiday, go to Staples, the working and learning store. In store and online. Ends 12/17.
If you own a business, this has been a bumpy ride. From pandemic to inflation, I'm sure you could use a break. If your business has 5 or more employees and 5 payrolls, you might be eligible to receive a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee. The challenge is getting your hands on it. Hi, I'm Howard Backler, and that's why I founded GetRefunds.com to cut through the red tape and get you the money. The team of tax attorneys we have put together are highly trained in this well-known payroll tax refund program. We do all the work, charge not a dime up front, and simply share a percentage of the cash that we get for you. Businesses of all types can qualify, including those that took PPP, nonprofits, and even those that didn't.
So I watched the Video Game Awards last night, and the dude who is the voice of Kratos
Yeah.
got up there. They couldn't get him off. And so it made the whole show go like 25 minutes late. And they start playing the music, and then they played the music really loud. He still was talking.
Did I see somebody crashed
Yes.
one of the award
right
presentations?
right at the very end.
Yeah.
Like
Like Game of the Year award or
yeah,
something?
well, yeah, Elden Ring won, which I'm so happy about because anytime there's a God of War game that sweeps everything,
Yeah.
even though it just came out, which I don't think should make it eligible. It's like when a movie comes out in December and it's eligible I for an Oscar or whatever. I don't know that should be that way. Yeah, this kid just walked up there and said, "I would like to thank my Reformed Rabbi Bill Clinton." It's just like he was arrested like right after that too. He looked like a kid. I don't know how old he was. Probably like 19 or 20. Who knows?
CBS Sports Radio.
You should look up what Halsey was wearing last night when she performed before the Diablo 4 thing. There's a bunch of acolytes out there and it was different. And they had a hurdy-gurdy on stage. I didn't even know that's what that was till Cameron told me. I want to learn how to play a hurdy-gurdy. Could you play a hurdy-gurdy?
I follow a girl on Instagram that plays it, but she plays like contemporary rock songs on it. It's kind of dope. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Let's talk college football postseason awards, shall we? The majority of them handed out yesterday evening, and we have got those here for you. Caleb Williams walks away with the Maxwell Award. That is the Player of the Year award. It frequently ends up in the hands of the winner of the Heisman Trophy, but not always. There are times when it goes a different direction. Hendon Hooker and CJ Stroud were the other finalists for the Maxwell Award. USC, interesting with USC this year, Lonzo, in that up until the loss to Utah in the Pac-12 championship game, they had lost to Utah in the regular season. They got a chance to get a little revenge in the Pac-12 championship. They failed there as well. But outside of those two games where Utah had the number of the Trojans were one of only a couple of teams that were playoff threats almost start to finish. Now, that loss to Utah in the regular season dropped that down pretty far in the rankings, but they climbed all the way back up and in to where a Pac-12 championship would have put them into the playoffs. Caleb Williams, who, of course, was the man who replaced Spencer Rattler as a starting quarterback at Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley, left Boomer Sooner and went out to Trojan country, and Caleb followed him out there, was really, really good this year. But I don't want to say one of the most unliked of college football's quarterbacks this year, but it kind of feels like he is. And maybe I'm overreacting, but it seemed to me like because of the fact that he painted his fingernails, people didn't like him, honestly, right? Like every game he would get a manicure and paint his fingernails with a message or whatever. Remember, infamously, before that Pac-12 championship, he painted F-word Utah across his nails. Now that one I was like, all right, dude, you're kind of asking to get your ass beat if you do that. Maybe not your best look. But like earlier in the season, he had one where he like painted the American flag on his nails, stuff like that. It's just his way of sending his message. And people beat up on this guy. Caleb Williams was a USC defensive effort against Pac-12 Utah away from being in the playoffs. That being said, did Caleb Williams deserve it more than Hendon Hooker at Tennessee? And I know Tennessee watched Hendon Hooker get his knee blown out against South Carolina, put him down for the season. But up until that point, Hendon Hooker was something else. CJ Stroud at Ohio State. So how would you compare the offensive weapons that CJ Stroud had around him at Ohio State this year to the offensive weapons of Buckeye teams in recent memory?
You mean like last year?
Yeah.
Night and day. I mean, but he still got it done. I mean, it's, is it a drop off? Yeah. But you got Marvin Harrison Jr., man. How much of a drop off is that? And then Njigba was hurt the entire season, but he still was able to make it work with other guys. I don't want to say it's that much of a drop off because Ohio State, in some people's opinion, is becoming wide receiver U with some of the guys that they're getting in there. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be probably a number 1 draft pick when he comes out.
Hey,
and
SmackDown's in Greenville in February. Dope. Doing that, obviously. Sorry. Keep going.
No, we're good.
You sent me that.
I know I sent that to you. I know, because it just popped up, and I thought you'd want to know.
Yes, I do.
Since you didn't get to go last time.
I did not. I was so mad about that. I mean, I wasn't mad. I was drinking rum poolside in the Dominican Republic. My life was great.
By the way, it's post-Rumble SmackDown.
It is.
Which means it's right, you know, it's in WrestleMania season.
All right. So, anyway, I think CJ Stroud, Zoe, this year did more with less than any Ohio State quarterback in recent memory. Yes or no? Is that fair?
The more I started talking, the more I said, I don't know. I think he didn't have multiple guys like he's had in the past. He just had one guy.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, and that was basically it.
Yep. And
you had an injured running game, which still they won every game until Michigan.
Yeah.
So.
And Maya Williams is good. You lost because Smith and Jigba was supposed to be.
It was
that dude this year.
Because he was that guy last year, even with the guys that were there, Olave and Garrett.
The other one.
Yeah. Who's in New York, I think. Yeah. So he had those guys in Jigba. He showed out last year, and this year he just can't stay healthy, and he's already decided he's just working on the NFL, which I don't have a problem with. I mean, because dude has been injured the entire season.
Knee like that's got a shelf life.
But
might as well get that money while you can.
I think that this was a great season for one receiver, and it helped Marvin Harrison Jr. really shine to the point where a lot of people are talking about him. But yes, he doesn't have the tandem. He doesn't have 3 or 4 guys like he had the year before. So it is more difficult. Garrett Wilson. Thank you, James.
By the way, Chris Olave, rookie of the year, right?
I think if he had a good quarterback.
Correct. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Chris Olave is rookie of the year. That dude's put up stellar record numbers. He is a game and a half worth of consistency away from beating every Saints rookie record set by Michael Thomas a few years back, who also is from
Ohio State University.
Correct. And he did it with Jameis Winston and a broken back and Andy Dalton. Imagine what that dude is with a good quarterback. All right. Anyway, I think CJ Stroud is the Maxwell Award winner. or should have been.
Now, do you think he's the Heisman Trophy winner, though?
I think I have to say yes, right?
I think the loss from Michigan took it away from him.
I don't think everybody's got one though, right? Everybody's got one, except Stetson Bennett. But, and this is where it gets interesting, right? This was what I was saying to Skrilla earlier in the show. Stetson Bennett is surrounded by NFL talent at Georgia right now. Georgia is going to have a handful of players over the next 2 or 3 years, like a solid handful of players that are first-round draft picks. He is surrounded by talent. And the only question to me is going to be how much consideration for Stet Bennett, how much consideration for CJ Stroud is taken regarding the talent that is around them. CJ Stroud was supposed to, Lonzo, have 3 first or second round draft picks, 2 wide receivers and a running back. Instead, he ended up with 1. Now, it's still nice to have 1, and Marvin Harrison Jr. was phenomenal this year. But he ended up with 1 that is going to be considered a top-tier NFL draft pick. Stet Bennett's got a couple. And on top of that, the deeper we got into the year, the further we got into the SEC season, the more Georgia started running the ball. The fact that Georgia, and again, it was the right call, right? Because there got to a point in the season. We called this shot 3 or 4 weeks ago. It got to a point in the season where Georgia didn't need style points anymore, right? They were just it. Once everybody else lost, it got to the point where as long as you don't lose, you're in. So Georgia didn't need to go get Stetson Bennett 1,000 passing yards in the last 3 or 4 games to make him a Heisman threat. They leaned on Brock Bowers. They leaned on McConkey. They leaned on Kenny McIntosh, Kendall Milton. They leaned on these guys to just move the ball, just get first downs. It doesn't have to be spectacular. We don't need big-time plays. So Stet, towards the end of the year, kind of cooled off a little bit, but you also have to ask, and I think this is fair, Stet got to cool off towards the end of the year because of how good Georgia was, because of the fact that Georgia didn't need style points. Did Georgia not need style points because of how good Stet was early in the year? But I wonder, and this is a fun little thought experiment I like to do at Heisman Trophy time, despite the fact that, if I may be honest with you all, I don't really care about the Heisman Trophy. That trophy doesn't really hold a lot of meaning to me. That trophy is as much a popularity contest as I put more stock into the Maxwell Award than I do the Heisman. I asked the question, Lonzo, if I switched CJ Stroud and Stetson Bennett, and I put CJ in Athens, Georgia, and I put Stet Bennett in Columbus, Ohio this year. Same team, same situation, same injury, same schedule, everything. If I switched CJ Stroud to Athens and Stet Bennett to Columbus, what are the results?
I can't answer this question without my bias coming through.
Go ahead anyway, because I feel like you're going to. Okay, let me tell you. I'll give you mine, and then you tell me if you agree. That way we can't have your bias reflected on it. I think if CJ Stroud's in Georgia, not only is Georgia still playing for a championship, but they are even shorter shorter odds to win it. They have been like minus money in Vegas to win a national championship for a hot minute now. If CJ Stroud is in Athens, Georgia right now, Georgia is considered the greatest college football team of all time. if CJ Stroud, or excuse me, if Stetson Bennett was in Columbus, Ohio, Lonzo, you ought to lost one, maybe two more games. That's how good CJ is. And this is no disrespect to Stet Bennett. I respect the hell out of what Stetson Bennett has done. But Stetson Bennett is a good quarterback being carried by a stupid good team around him. CJ Stroud is a really, really, really good quarterback who is carried an oft-injured Buckeye team to glory.
Not Stetson Bennett's fault, though.
Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, don't make it sound like it's his fault. I mean, awesome. I have a great team around me. I'm not going to complain about that.
Hell yeah. Everywhere I've gone, I have done my best to build a great team around me. Because I would rather not have to lean on my greatness every day.
That's well done. And I enjoyed the fact that
It's very dramatic, right?
You hit yourself without hurting yourself, which I can't seem to do. So, I mean, you stop short of saying the revolution will be televised.
It'll be on the radio. I don't want to rely on my greatness every day. I want to have a great team around me so that if I have an off day, I get picked up, right? Like every show this week so far, I have had an off day, and Zoe's been here to pick me up.
Monday was difficult, but
Monday sucked.
I mean, no.
Tuesday sucked.
No. Tuesday did not suck. Monday didn't suck either. It could have been worse.
Point is, I had somebody there to pick me up because I got a great team, right? Small roster, great team. Stet Bennett has a great team built around him. It created
I'm
a
playing
situation.
both ways. I mean, football-wise.
It created a situation for Stetson Bennett where Stetson Bennett was able to go out there and just be Stetson Bennett. He didn't have to put the team on his back, right? He didn't have to drag that team when the team was off. Stet Bennett had to go out there and be Superman. Stet Bennett could just go out there and be Stet Bennett. Play within his capability and let the team be excellent around him. I will take that for some trophies. I think in some degrees the opposite was true for Ohio State. A very good team, but a team that, with a couple of injuries, with a couple of players missing time, there were some games where CJ Stroud had to be exceptional. And he was. But there were games where CJ Stroud had to be exceptional for Ohio State to win. That's why CJ Stroud is a higher Heisman vote to me than Stet Bennett. But Hendon Hooker's your Heisman Trophy winner, ladies and gentlemen. At least you should be. What Hendon Hooker did with Tennessee this year, right? CJ Stroud took an Ohio State team that, despite the fact they didn't have all the talent that they expected, was still a team that was expected to be very, very good this year. And they are in the playoffs. Up until the loss to South Carolina, Tennessee was a playoff team. Tennessee beat Alabama. The only team they didn't beat was number 1 Georgia, the only college football championship team with negative bet money in Vegas right now. Georgia's minus 130 to win the Natty right now. Georgia's minus 130. Michigan is plus 300. Ohio State's plus 350. Lonzo, TCU is plus 1,800 to win the Natty. 6 times longer odds than the team in third right now.
I got to say, if Ohio State doesn't win the whole thing, I'd love to see TCU do it, but they're not going to.
Chaos, baby. Give it all. Give me all the chaos. Give me all the chaos. Anyway, the reality is Hendon Hooker took a team that had some talent on it, but wasn't expected to do anything under a second-year head coach in Josh Heupel, and was devastating to every defense he lined up against, with rare exception. Hendon Hooker was special this year. South Carolina won because they put up 63, not because they stopped Hendon Hooker, right? Georgia's the only team that did. And again, that's a team full of first, second, and third rounders at the NFL level. Hendon Hooker should be your Heisman Trophy winner. Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to ask you, do you care about the Heisman Trophy? I say that, Lonzo, because last night they were running advertisements for the Heisman ceremony, and I saw a lot of people on social going, oh, I didn't know that was this weekend. Do you care about the Heisman? Talk about that when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Could I ask you to find the soccer game for me? Or hand me the remote and I will.
I don't think the remote will work from over there because of where it's positioned, so I'll do it. Is it on?
Tigers coming off an 80-75 win over Towson on Wednesday. In the SEC, South Carolina playing on Sunday evening at home when they host Presbyterian. The game.
Yes, it's going to be on one of the Fox channels. There it is. Thank you, sir. Got to do it at 10. So we got here just in time for halftime.
Great Craig Krenzel reference, James. Forgot all about him.
Dun 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 dun.
Brown Show, what do you want to talk about? Okay, what's your name? Right, come on.
Whether you're in a house and you need to upgrade or you just want to sell it to make a little cash, Allen Tate is there working on behalf of you. And you want them in your corner. Trust me, they've got 8 local offices right here in the upstate, and they are ready to help you now, regardless of what side you're on. Allen Tate's on your side. Get in touch with them at allentate.com, online at allentate.com.
This is for the men who never settle.
How much time
The
do I have?
ones who believe only quitters end the game in a tie.
2 minutes.
So far with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter code JOY at checkout. That's harrys.com, code JOY. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm your unused PTO. It's almost the end of the year, and if you don't put me on a timesheet, I will be gone forever. Use me or lose me. Let's get away.
It's getaway time. Get our best deals of the season on a new Hyundai. It's your journey. Own every mile at the Hyundai Getaway Salesman. Now get 0% APR, 0 payments for 90 days, and $500 bonus cash on select vehicles. Hurry to your local Hyundai dealer now during the Hyundai Getaway Salesman. Offer ends 1/3/23. Call 1-562-314-4603 for complete offer details.
What's your retirement look like?
Bang!
Dedicated advice.
Bang!
Create a flexible income strategy to grow and protect your wealth so you can stop worrying about the future and enjoy whatever comes next. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services member NYSE SIPC.
From the Ingalls Market Studio,
The Upstate. 97.7 FM Green. 97.1 FM.
From your CBS Sports Radio.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. Let me get my guy Warner in here, checking in, wants to talk a little Stetson Bennett, quarterback for the University of Georgia Bulldogs. Warner, welcome back, big fella. How we doing?
I'm doing good. I think Stetson deserves it. I know nobody agrees with me, but he won the MVP of the Orange Bowl, MVP of the Natty, head-to-head against the Heisman Trophy winner, and embarrassed him on his good calls when Bryce Young, threw interceptions when he needed to be counted on. Then he just won the MVP of the SEC championship. I don't know if that's ever been done before.
So, good argument. I'm going to start with what Stet did last year does not play into it this year, or at least it's not supposed to. So we're going to judge it from what he did week one. And again, had a hell of a year. I'm not arguing that. And winning MVPs in big games is, again, very impressive. My only argument against it, Warner, and I'm curious to your reaction, is Stetson Bennett is surrounded by top-tier NFL talent. Does that not kind of work against him when I look at a guy like C.J. Stroud, who did not have his number one wide receiver or running back available for a majority of the year? Hendon Hooker has, who they got that Jalen kid, and that's really the biggest threat that they had all year. Does doing more with more get you an advantageous situation over quarterbacks like Stroud and Hooker that did more with less?
Well, he didn't, because he had more, he didn't have to play as much, and they threw the ball 5 times average in the second half because they didn't need to. Kirby wanted to slow the game, minimize the injuries. So by him scoring early and keeping them up, other than, against Georgia Tech and Missouri, he skunked everybody. And he threw 4 touchdowns in the first half for a record. He broke Mahomes and Tebow's record for most games with 250 yards, 2 touchdowns passing, and a touchdown rushing. I mean, he does have some pretty good stats. He doesn't have the 400 or 500 yard games because he didn't need to.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong, Warner. Appreciate it, man. Good take. Thanks for checking in. Listen, if Stetson Bennett the fourth wins the Heisman Trophy, I am not going to come in here tomorrow or Monday and say it was a ripoff, right? I would not come in here and say they gave it to the wrong guy. It's not the guy that I would give it to. But I don't have a problem with Stetson Bennett winning the thing. The dude had a great year. I'm simply saying that when you are as loaded up as Georgia is, when you have as much talent around a quarterback as Stetson Bennett has, you kind of have to be good, right? By default, those numbers should be where they were. And as Warner pointed out, they did get to a point late in the season where they didn't need style point. They didn't need Bennett to go out there and throw the ball 30 times. They were able to run the ball 50 times a game because at that point, points were largely irrelevant for them. They didn't need them anymore. They ended up just fine. They didn't need to beat Georgia Tech by 75. You absolutely better believe they could have beat Georgia Tech by 75 if they wanted to, but they didn't need to. At that point, it was get through this game healthy, come out with no injuries, go win the SEC championship. And they did. And, oh, by the way, they made it look easy running the ball against LSU, too. I think Hooker did more with less and put up some pretty stupid numbers in the process. That being said, it's subjective. So, my question to you guys, do y'all care about the Heisman Trophy? I remember as a children, as a youth, it used to be like a thing. Like people got ready on Saturday to watch the Heisman Trophy presentation. Have y'all lost some passion for that award? Because it feels like the college football landscape has. And I'm curious. 1 hour left. The Rob Brown Show rolls on next. This is the fan upstate.
So PMP just tweeted, got to give Baker his props. 2 days with the team, game-winning drive. We'll see how he looks the rest of the year. Good for him, though. Still no reply to me or you, though. I just want to point that out, just in case you're watching Rashad, which you do on occasion. So. And I agree, Hudson. That exactly it. If you got a guy in there, you care about it. If not, you probably don't. Yeah. I got a guy in there, though. I don't think he's going to win. I think he should, but so do most people who's got a guy in there think their guy should win. Oh, broke Raider hearts.
And Vegas' 3-game win streak, and the Raiders all but out of playoff contention now at 5-9. Jason Garrett tweeting overnight that he's not getting the Stanford head coaching job. Sacramento State's Troy Taylor, the likely choice now. The Mets have re-signed center fielder Brandon Nimmo, 8 years, $162 million. Jamal Murray's 3 9/10 left. Got the Nuggets a 121-120 win in Portland, and Croatia and Brazil scoreless first half of their World Cup quarterfinal. I'm Andrew Boone.
Hey, it's DA. Be sure to listen to CBS Sports Radio at home. Ask Alexa to play CBS Sports Radio.
Do not go through another holiday season with that.
Believe it or not, James, I agree with you that Deshaun should have won that year.
They repair and restore damaged tissue so you can get back to life as normal. Enjoy your time with your family and friends this holiday season, pain-free. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. If you are dealing with joint pain, before you say yes to an operation or more steroids or pain pills, call QC Kinetics and take advantage of their life-changing all-natural treatments. And it's a great time to use those FSA funds before they expire. So don't wait. Call today. It is the future of joint pain management, and appointments are available right now. Give yourself the best gift imaginable and go pain-free. Call them. QC Kinetics, 864-448-3772. In Greenville and Asheville, 864-448-3772.
You're the one who protects the flock, and that requires an eye for detail. Because when safety and well-being are on the line, it's the details that can save lives. Even when no one else is watching, you see everything.
I hate when work gets in the way of my work. You know what I mean?
All the ones who get it done with a wide range of safety products.
Yeah.
I just want to goof off in the stream.
One dose of Big Steak Plus Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day. Big Steak Plus Severe. The daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use this directly. If you're like me, you're busy and on a budget. Do you remember a $10 lunch that wasn't a drive-thru? Well, the Warehouse in Midtown is your spot. Every Monday through Friday, 11 to 3, you pick from the $10 menu with items like Philly cheesesteaks, pizzas, French dip paninis, chicken finger plates, salads, and more. And all come with house-made chips and a drink. It's a food hall with a huge selection of foods and a tap house with 26 taps and TVs galore for all your sports watching needs. The Warehouse at Midtown, 1418 Lawrence Road in Greenville.
The Upstate Holiday Light Show is going on now at Greenville Pickens Speedway. Drive through a nighttime Christmas wonderland as 32 million colors set the sky ablaze, synchronized to the music of your favorite holiday classics. UpstateLights.com.
When people have a craving to explore new and traditional Asian cuisines, they head to P.F. Chang's, where scratch-made dishes come from the 2,000-year-old tradition of wok cooking. P.F. Chang's wanted to explore new possibilities for their website.
What? Didn't even put the first hour up yet. Tell me.
P.F. Chang's website integrated multiple third-party systems to create a unified digital experience. The results? Improved page speed and performance, personalized content based on users' location, intuitive online ordering, an increase in organic search visibility, and a 40% increase in new users. For scratch-made Asian cuisine, visit your local P.F. Chang's or go to pfchangs.com for website design, development, digital
Harley in the first break.
Harley in the first break.
Sunday on Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL, it's a pivotal matchup in the NFC as the San Francisco 49ers host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hi, everyone. Troy Clarity here. Join Brian Baldinger and me for all the action as these two playoff hopefuls clash on the West Coast. Can Tom Brady lead the Buccaneers to a road victory?
No.
The 49ers make it 6 wins in a row.
Yes.
The Buccaneers and the 49ers. If it's the NFL, it's right here. Sunday afternoon at 4.
Go Purdy.
Now plays here on the Fan Upstate. The official sports voice of the Upstate Fan.
By the way, I labeled a chapter regularity and its importance for healthy life.
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate, the third, the final, the best, the money hour starts right now. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me on the other side of the metaphorical glass today sits the great one. Lonzo's in charge of the broadcast as always. Y'all want to be a part of the show? Now's your opportunity to do it, ladies and gentlemen. 844 fan phone, 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. You can shoot us a text on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We will read them on the air. So the question that I left you with in the last hour was this. Do you care about the Heisman Trophy? Do you care about the Heisman Trophy? Is this something that people pay attention to, that college football fans pay attention to anymore? Hudson checked in. Hudson said, I will say the Heisman used to have some wonder to it, but to Rob's point, it's just a popularity contest now. Too many great players get overlooked these days. And I have told you guys on the air before, I'm a big fan of defense, right? I love a low-scoring game. Give me a 7-3 game where both defenses are just absolutely getting after it. And I'm in. I'll watch, right? I pull for no-hitters in baseball. I pull for shutouts in hockey. I cannot, have not, do not, will not understand why it is that there is so much emphasis on half of the game. Pick a game. Ball is ball. In a game. Give me a game that's got two defenses getting after it, and I will be entertained. You're telling me that one time in the last, couple of decades, that one time has the best player in college football been a defensive player? Anybody, top of your head, let's play the Rob Brown Show Home Edition. When was the last time that a defensive play, you'll know this, Zoe, I think. When was the last time a defensive player won the Heisman Trophy?
Was it?
Yes, it was. 1997. The last time a Heisman Trophy went to a defender is old enough to rent a car now. Right? You're telling me since 1997, there has been one defensive player that's been good enough to be called the best player in college football? Quarterback, wide receiver, quarterback, running back, quarterback, running back, running back, running back, running back, running back, cornerback. Since Charles Woodson, that's the player-by-player breakdown of who was where. And as the texter points out, and correctly so, Charles Woodson didn't win because he was a cornerback. Charles Woodson won because he was a everything, right? He was listed on the depth chart as a quarterback, but he was a kick returner. He could play wide receiver. He could play running back. He was a utilitarian player. Wasn't even strictly a defensive player. Before Woodson, just because I can't tell you off the top of my head, when was the last defensive player before Charles Woodson that won a Heisman Trophy? Does anybody have even the faintest idea? Listed on position, listed on the roster as a position player, to get to the defender that last won a Heisman since Charles Woodson did it in 1997. You have got to go all the way back to the 60s. The last player listed on roster as a defensive player was in 1961 when Ernie Davis did it out of Syracuse.
That's so long ago, I wasn't even born yet.
I don't know, maybe like, you know, with the defense, a great, and I guess this is the frustrating part, a great defensive player makes what, Lonzo? 14 tackles a game? Like an all-time makes 14 tackles a game?
You're talking about in college? Yeah. Yeah.
Talking 14 tackles a game for an all-time player, 14 tackles a game. Maybe all-time gets you a sack and a half a game. All-time great gets you maybe 8, 9, 10 interceptions in a season, all-time season. It's hard to get picked out on defense, but if you're handing out a trophy to the best player in college football, y'all, half of college football players play defense. Half of college football players play defense. And you're telling me that since 1961, when half of the college football world plays defense, since 1961, twice has the best player in college football come from a group that represents half of rosters? Texas says, Rob, there were 2 defensive players nominated that year. Peyton Manning was the other. Oh, listen, I'm not saying there haven't been defensive players that have been nominated. There have been plenty nominated for Heisman Trophy. Ndamukong Suh got nominated in 2009. Honestly, Ndamukong Suh should have won. The Ndamukong Suh was a game-changing defensive tackle. 2019, Joe Burrow won the Heisman. Chase Young was nominated from Ohio State. If Joe Burrow didn't have... Now, I got no problem with that one going to Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow was on some next-level boat that season. But I think there's a lot of other seasons, Lonzo, to Chase Young would have had his season in other seasons.
Yeah, you were talking about dominance for sure. He had that. It's a shame it hasn't panned out as much in the NFL because he keeps getting hurt.
2016, Jabril Peppers out of Michigan got nominated as a linebacker. Who won it that year? Louisville's Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson won it with 80% of the vote, 79.5% of the vote.
Yeah, and that year, if I recall, people was already picking him to win the Heisman way before they ended their season, and their season did not end very well. That to me, that year was more proof of this is a popularity thing because people had made up their mind so early.
2012, Manti Te'o was nominated for the Heisman Trophy. Came in second. Who'd he come in second behind? Johnny Football.
So see that girl who he thought was but was actually, yeah.
Johnny Manziel in 2012 beat out Manti Te'o. He was the third all-time defensive player to finish in the top 2 of the Heisman Trophy balloting.
Yeah, but that year, I mean, Johnny Manziel was, the stuff he was doing was pretty amazing.
I don't disagree. But the point that I'm making here is that you can pretty much list all of the defensive nominees in like one blog. You know what I mean? Like one blog. I can list them all. In 2012, when Te'o came in second, who was the next closest defensive player? I'll give you a hint. Played for South Carolina. Jadeveon Clowney was 6th in the voting. 6th.
But as I'm listening to you saying all the different winners and then all the other guys, I'm just sitting there wondering how many of these guys actually panned out in the NFL. So being a Heisman Trophy winner doesn't mean you're going to do well on the next level.
Correct. But we also don't give the award based on who we think's going to be the best NFL player. We give it to who was the best college football player this year.
I'm just saying, if you're a superstitious kind of guy, you're okay with being asked to come to New York. Maybe you don't want to win.
I just want a free trip to New York.
When you get to go to New York, I was second in voting, but now I'm an all-pro in the NFL.
I'm trying to go see the Phantom of the Opera, damn it. I want a trip to New York.
Or Cats. That's probably not playing anymore.
No, Cats is
though.
off Broadway.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, my when I was, 10, my parents brought me to see Cats. Stupidest 2.5 hours of my life.
I'm just thinking of the previews for the movie. And if the show was as dumb as the previews for the movie.
I was 10, and halfway through that, I'm like, this is the single dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. I was miserable. Miserable. The highlight of the night was that Steven Tyler was at the play. That was it.
He wasn't in it.
Steven and Liv were at the play.
Oh, there you go. You probably weren't old enough for Liv to mean that much yet. Or, well, we all develop at different times.
The highlight of the night, aside from being sat like 2 rows behind Liv Tyler, was that at the end of the first act, before they go to the intermission, they have a big fat cat character who doesn't walk. He's just a guy in a big fat cat costume. And they rolled his fat behind out on the stage. And the end of the first act is the fat cat hilariously falling asleep in the middle of a conversation he's having with another character. And the highlight of the night was that the character stayed asleep through the whole intermission on stage. I'm like, that's the highlight. The highlight is that an actor kept his eyes closed for 13 minutes. That's the highlight of your play. That an actor acted asleep. Asleep.
It's harder to do than
He didn't
you
juggle
say.
for 13 minutes. He didn't do stand-up comedy for 13 minutes. For 13 minutes, an actor kept his, and by the way, you couldn't tell if he was moving or not because he was inside of a big fat costume. That dude could have been in there stretching, walking on a treadmill. The highlight of the night was that all you could see is a guy's face. I didn't even know if it was really his face. He could have popped the mask up there that just looked a lot like him. I love my mom and dad. I am very fortunate that I've had the experiences I had, that I got to travel. I got to go see Grease on Broadway. It was spectacular.
So the 1%er life apparently is not all that we heard it was.
Not when they make you sit through something as dumb as Cats. I'm pretty sure Cats made me a dog guy. I think my preference for dogs came because when Cats was over, I was like, well, New York City sucks. If this is what they think is entertainment, this city sucks. And I was 10 and I knew that.
This is how interesting the Heisman Trophy winning is.
We're talking about
There's
a
a cat-
Broadway
a
play
cat's
that's been
tangent.
off Broadway
Yes.
for a decade. That's it. All right. Last defensive back to be named a Heisman finalist, Honey Badger, back in 2011. Remember how good of a season Honey Badger had in 2011?
I still kind of miss him with the Chiefs.
Checked in 5th that year. Fifth. Just because I'm curious. Let's see. 2011 Heisman Trophy votes. Let's see what order that came in. Who finished ahead of Honey Badger? Monty Ball, Trent Richardson, Andrew Luck, and your winner, Robert Griffin III.
All right, I kind of get it. I kind of get well.
Monty Ball did not
I was
go
gonna
ahead of
say,
the Honey Badger.
Monty Ball, no, but the other two, yeah.
Trent Richardson had a good season. If you put him ahead, all right, I guess maybe. Last time there were 4 defensive players in the top 10 Heisman balloting, 1986.
The year I graduated high school. Yes, I'm that old.
I was 1. The Boz finished 4th in that year.
I always wanted to go with that haircut, but wasn't allowed.
Do it now.
No,
Why?
because it won't grow back. It's Twisted Todd down the hall used to have hair like mine. He shaved his head once and could never grow it back.
That's hilarious.
But true.
All right. So all of those references, numbers, vote totals, etc. My question here is, do you care about the Heisman? I'm not saying that trying to paint the conversation a certain direction. All right? Up front, I don't really care about it, right? I care about the Maxwell. I care about the Bednarik. I care about the position player and the club trophies that are handed out by sporting clubs more than I care about the Heisman.
I think the interviews are probably more interesting than the winning of the trophy itself, because they got to do all that fluff before they get up to it. But they're also talking about the accolades that they've each guy's already won with all the other awards and things like that.
Really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and seeing seeing who's in the crowd, that's kind of cool.
The show itself is very, very good. I will watch the show. All I'm saying is that the least impressive part of the show is who wins the trophy, basically. I don't care about the Heisman. I care more about the Davey O'Brien. I care more about the Bednarik. I care more about the Doak Walker. I care more about the Biletnikoff. I care more about the Outland Trophy, the Remington Trophy, the Buckus Award, the Jim Thorpe Award, the John Mackey Award. Why? Because those clubs, right? Those clubs, they dial in on one position, right? The Davey O'Brien Award goes to the best quarterback. Caleb Williams won the Maxwell Award for Player of the Year. You know who won the Davey O'Brien Award for best quarterback? Max Duggan, TCU. Now, this one's interesting. Full disclosure, do you know where Davey O'Brien played quarterback? TCU. So maybe a little home cooking there, right? Maybe a little home cooking. First time a TCU quarterback's been anywhere near that award since Davey O'Brien. Bednarik Award, best overall defensive player, goes to Will Anderson Jr., which is correct. And also, why is Will Anderson Jr. not in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation? Will Anderson Jr. is a stud. Now, granted, he actually took a step back statistically from last year, his sophomore year, where he was an all-timer. But he took a step back because teams went, we probably shouldn't run it at that beast. Dude is a top 5 prospect in the draft. He is sick. Doak Walker goes to Bijan Robinson out of Texas. 1,580 rushing yards on 258 attempts. That is an average of 6.1 yards per carry, 18 touches on the ground, 314 through the air, and 2 touchdowns to go with it. He's going to be on some fantasy teams next year, y'all. No problem with that. Jalen Hyatt, best wide receiver, Biletnikoff Award. Goes to the young man out of Tennessee. He beats out Marvin Harrison Jr. and Xavier Hutchinson for that award. Hyatt, tied for the lead among all FBS wide receivers in touchdowns with 15, had 1,267 receiving yards on 67 catches. More than half of those touchdowns were on throws of more than 20 yards. Stellar. So there you go. There's a couple of award winners. Best linebacker award, Buckus Award, goes to Jack Campbell out of Iowa. Best tight end, John Mackey Award, goes to Brock Bowers because obviously it does. That kid is a creative character. Coach of the Year. Who did I tell you was going to win Coach of the Year 3 days ago? Do you remember? Sonny Dykes out of TCU. There was no question that Sonny Dykes was winning that award. In fact, Sonny Dykes was the only bet that I made on postseason awards. I put some change down on Sonny Dykes to win Coach of the Year. No problem. And the Werfel Trophy goes to Dylan Gibbons of Florida State. Dylan Gibbons in Florida State, Lonzo, ran a nonprofit foundation that raised over $500,000 for people in need over the last year. Talk about a kid that we should talk about. I actually worked for the president of the first Werfel Trophy Award. I was actually there. I actually held the Werfel Award the day that it was made. I worked for a guy by the name of Charlie Potts. He ran a jewelry store. I worked in a jewelry store. And he was also the president of the inaugural year of the Werfel Award. So I got to hang out when they awarded it. That was pretty cool, man.
What was your jewelry store voice like?
Hey guys, welcome to Goldsmith Jewelers. I'm just kidding. That's not how I talked. It was just this.
I'm not buying it. I bet there's no way Rob Brown could be full Rob Brown in a jewelry store.
What you're looking
a pawn shop, yes. A jewelry store, no.
What you're looking for in a diamond are the 3 C's: color, cut, and clarity. Now, if you're going for a more rectangular shape, you might want to look into a princess cut. It's a little more unique. It's not the same as a cushion cut. It is very similar, but it's going to give you a little bit more of a round edge to it. It's been very popular over the past few years. If you are looking for something a little more dynamic that stands out, I might suggest the teardrop shape. It's very unique. And one of the interesting things about that is you can actually turn it to face either direction depending on the statement you're trying to make. Do you have a particular gemstone that you are looking for?
You know, he could be making all this up and it's working for me.
Dude, I worked in that store
It's just working for me. I'm guessing that your voice was somewhere in there with a little more excitement because you're trying to make a sale. You're not trying to go NPR.
No, what you are trying to do is get the sucker that came in to buy some jewelry to believe that if you don't get her this one and you get her that one, she's going to know you're a cheap ass. That's what you're trying to do. No, Mr. Jones, I think what you picked out was a remarkable selection. I'm just saying that as far as that particular type of ring goes, this one over here has really gotten more trendy and in style. And I know it's a little bit more in terms of spending than maybe you discussed, but this is the one that has really taken off lately. And I genuinely think that Miss Susan would appreciate this ring based on what I know about her and your glowing review of her.
And you may not know this, but we have financing.
Tester said, normally what I'm looking for in a diamond is a lap dance or a trip to the champagne room. Now, welcome to the main stage, Diamond. All right, let's take a break. I'm treading on ice I should not be treading on. Let's take a break. Come back. Your thoughts welcome on the Heisman Trophy. Are you interested? What's your thoughts? When we come back, Lonzo, do I dare talk NBA for a minute?
Let's.
Because
I've heard there's a team that's doing pretty well that you might like.
Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, got to read. Stick around. We'll be right back. need to bring us back.
He starts out hiding in a junk place where they salvage big spaceships and stuff. That's a good game. It's on Game Pass. The first one is. I gave up on beating it, and then T2 and Cameron shamed me, and I had to go back and do it.
I got 2 NBA teams I want you to keep an eye on right now. Yes, I know it's basketball, but it's Friday, and it's my show doing what I want to do.
Yeah, you almost cursed there.
I wouldn't dare.
College football season's over, right? Until the playoffs.
I mean, unless you care about bowl games.
Yeah, unless you care about bowl games, then you got like 2 weeks.
Which on one hand I don't, and on the other hand, I'm watching all of them, for the record. Our college football bowl games will start in a week with the Bahamas Bowl, big matchup between UAB and Miami, Ohio.
Wow.
Then we got Troy, UTSA, and the Cure Bowl on the same day. On the 17th, we got Louisville and Cincinnati and the Fenway Bowl, which, by the way, I'm going to watch that only because the setup is dumb as hell. They're playing that in Fenway. Not dumb as hell. But there's so little field out there because Fenway is such a scooched-in stadium. Both teams have to share a sideline.
That's not going to go well. I do believe scooched is actually a scientific term also.
Yeah, scooch over. And once you are asked to scooch over and you do scooch over, you have then scooched over. Anyway, we're obviously going to talk more bowl games, but we're a week out, so I'm going to talk about this. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 NBA teams I need you to be watching right now. Number 1, the Boston Celtics right now. Remember that team that last year kind of melted on in the NBA Finals? Lost to Golden State. Lonzo was a big fan of that. As Steph got another ring. This Celtics team has done something that a lot of championship teams, frankly, Zoe, do not. They fix their mistakes. Last year, they were fatigued. They did not have a lot of depth. Last year, they were a very mid three-point shooting team. Last year, they were a team with very little chemistry who turned the ball over a lot. This year, the Boston Celtics are the best three-point shooting team in the National Basketball Association. This year, a team that had no chemistry last year and turned the ball over a lot has the 6th fewest amounts of turnovers in the entire league. And this team has gone from a team that relied on the top 2 or 3 guys in Tatum and Brown to a group that has a hell of a lot of assists overall. This Boston Celtics team that got, even though it was a 6-game finals loss, got a series that never really felt close last year. This team that got trounced by the Dubs last year is on an entirely different flow this year. The Celtics, Lonzo, are averaging 120.8 points per game. If they are able to keep that throughout the remainder of the season, it would be the most points per game that any NBA team has averaged over the course of a season since the Denver Nuggets 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Remember how y'all been complaining over the past couple of years because the association keeps pushing offense, the association keeps forcing the league to score more points, etc.? Boston is about to take all them teams, all them rules, all them years in the league and blow them out of the water. Boston is connecting on 40% of their three-pointers. They are shooting 40% from deep. They are averaging 16.6 3-pointers per game so far, and they're getting better. The Celtics have a true shooting percentage. This is every shot you take. Free throws included, threes included in your percentage overall. Every shot you take. They are shooting every shot they take at a 62.6% clip right now. That's unbelievable. 17 threes a night, 40%. And it's not like they're hitting 17 threes because they're launching 90 of them. They're hitting at 40% right now from deep. If you are a basketball fan that wants to see an efficient offense, not an offense that is catered to by the league, not an offense that is driven by a couple of players and they go in spurts and then they disappear. I'm talking about an offense that from start to finish is efficient, is intelligent, and knocks down their shots. The Boston Celtics right now are a team that you need to put your eyes on. That team's good out of the East. In fact, they're the best team out of the East. In fact, 2 nights ago, they went up against the Phoenix Suns, who were the best team in the West. So in the third quarter, they led by 40 points over the best team in the West. 40 points they led Phoenix by. Courtesy of that L handed to Phoenix, there's a new number 1 team in the West, ladies and gentlemen, and that new number 1 team is your New Orleans Pelicans. B.I., CJ, and Z are at the top of the West right now. Had one of the best offenses entering. If you looked at it on paper, took a little while to get going out of the gate. Now you've got B.I., who averaged 24 points per game during his first 2 seasons in New Orleans. Was it 22.7 last? McCollum, 20 points per game in 7 consecutive seasons, averaged 24.3 and 26 after being acquired from Portland last year. And Zion Williamson, who has, for the most part, over the past month and a half remained healthy and is blossoming into one of the best offensive players in the entire league. But here's what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the fact that this defense, this offense, an offense that knows that they can score the ball, right? If you get into a shootout, a 125-123 game with New Orleans, they can win that game. Because on top of B.I. and CJ and Z, they got guys like Jose Alvarado, who, by the way, Lonzo, I don't know if you've seen him. You're going to love Jose Alvarado. They call him Grand Theft Alvarado because he's got this move. After a Pelicans basket, while the ball's going through the net, Zoe, he will run over to the corner of the court on the baseline. He'll go run into the corner. He will wait for the ball to be inbounded. He'll wait for the inbounder to run past the guy bringing the ball up. Then he'll run up behind him and just take the ball away. Does it 2 or 3 times a game, and it works every time. Because at some point you're going to forget, right? You got this little gnat, this Georgia Tech rambling rat gnat that won't go away. And he just goes and he literally, Zoe, he walks to the corner and he does this. And he just hides in the corner. He just ducks down in the corner of the baseline where the ball is being taken inbounds after a made shot. He waits for you to look up at your offensive set, and then he just runs up behind you and pickpockets you. Grand Theft Alvarado, baby. Love this guy.
It's because there's like that unwritten rule or something in basketball where, you know, they're not going to do anything.
Except Jose, he'll take those 5 stars all day.
Good for him. I got to look that up. I got to see that.
Love this dude. What I love about this team is that this team is playing the hell up out of some defense lately. This team is playing the hell up out of some defense. There are 3 teams that have a 107.6 defensive rating so far. What that means is points per 100 possessions surrendered. Lonzo, you can score without free throws being attached 2 or 3 points every time you have the basketball. You're not going to. But let's say we talked about the Boston Celtics. They are shooting a pure percentage of 62.7% or 63.7%. Meaning that out of 100 possessions, 63 times the ball goes through the net. Let's say that, for sake of easy numbers and math, 60% of those are 2-pointers, 40% are 3-pointers. You were talking about a team that is probably putting down, what, 135, 140 points per 100 possessions? The Pelicans right now, Zoe, are giving up 107.6 points per 100 possessions. They are giving up just a tick over 1 point per possession. The only teams that are better than that, Milwaukee and Cleveland, who are just a tick over 106. 3 teams are giving up 108 or fewer points per 100 possessions. That's insane. This weekend, there's a 2-game series I want you to watch. New Orleans is playing Phoenix, and then Phoenix again. Phoenix has the league's second best offensive rating and has scored 120 points four times in their past 5 games prior to getting blown out by the Beantown Celtics. Remember, it was Phoenix that took New Orleans out of the playoffs last year. The Pels came in, won the opening round series. Everybody was like, oh, dang. This team's got, and that was without Zion. This team's got something. And then the Suns ruined my fun. This is a game that New Orleans, a 2-game series New Orleans wants to win, and now they've got the weapons to do it. Because they have got some no-name dudes, Larry Nance, Herbert Jones, Jose Alvarado, bench unit guys that none of you know that are killing it right now. And then you got Z, CJ, and BI, who are all scoring below their career average because everybody on the bench is pitching in as well. I want you to watch the Celtics this weekend. I want you to watch Pelicans Suns this weekend, and I want you to tell me that basketball isn't fun as hell right now. Let's take a break. Come back, wrap this bad boy up on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, since we're talking Grand Theft Alvarado, and I sure will be happy to share this all with you on the stream. Let me pull it up. All right. Alvarado is number 15. He's in the middle of your screen, right in the middle of the paint right now. Watch what this dude does. He just jumps passes constantly. Let me find you the one. So quick inbound. Another one. This is all this dude is just pick off inbounds passes. Yo, appreciate it. He's just a gnat, man. And it's fun to watch. I'm trying to find one where he hides in the corner. This might be one. There he goes. That's it. It's fun, dude. It's just fun to watch. There he goes. Did you see it?
Yeah.
He's down in the left-hand corner. Look at that sneaky little dude. He hides in the baseline. Yoink. Like, that's incredible. I have been watching the NBA for 30 years, and I've never seen anybody just do that repeatedly in a game.
I'm sure his height has a little bit something to do with him.
There he
being
goes
able
again. Look at that.
To do that.
Look, just duck down in the corner. Just hang in the corner, wait for the inbound, go take it. It's unbelievable.
Good King Geico has 24/7 claim service. They also fill with an abundance of biscuits.
Yoink. Appreciate it again.
I don't think it works this way.
Oh, and jam. Don't forget jam. To manifest more Geico in your life, go to Geico.
Yoink.
Where do holiday happenings take over every
Yoink. I love this guy. Like, if you give me 5 kids like this on a basketball floor, I'll beat everybody. This dude gets you probably 7 to 8 extra possessions per game. All right. Anyway, that's Grand Theft Alvarado. Dude is the GOAT.
But you weren't waiting around. You want straight talk to facts about Orgovyx. Orgovyx Relagolix 120 milligram prescription tablets is a treatment for adults with advanced prostate cancer. Fact: Orgovyx is a different kind of androgen deprivation therapy treatment, a pill, not an injection. Orgovyx will cause serious side effects, including a heart condition called QT prolongation. Tell your doctor right away if you feel dizzy, faint, have a racing, pounding heart, or chest pain. Orgovyx can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during treatment and for 2 weeks after Orgovyx treatment. The most common side effects include hot flushes, increased blood sugar and blood fat levels, muscle and joint pain, decreased blood hemoglobin levels, increased liver enzymes, tiredness, constipation, and diarrhea. Other side effects include weight gain, decreased sex drive, and erectile function problems. Orgovyx may cause infertility. Talk to your doctor if infertility is a concern for you. Go with Orgovyx. Trust your doctor. For more facts, visit gowiththefacts.com. Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
This afternoon, cloudy with showers with a high of 58.
Weather brought to you by Macy's. It's Macy's one-day sale now with great deals of the day. Plus, everyone gets $10 Macy's money for every $50 spent. Now at Macy's.
From the Ingalls Market Studio, the Fan.
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
All right, time for Twitter trending topics. The last one of the week where I tell Rob what is trending and he tells everybody why it's trending. The first thing that's trending is Michael Keaton.
So found out yesterday, there is a lot going on in the comic book movie world. DC is not happy with what they are at. They are scrapping a bunch of stuff, including Wonder Woman 3. But we also found out, and I'm coming back to Michael Keaton, but we also found out that apparently Marvel is not happy with where they are either and are considering not a reboot, but like a big project to tie. Because we got a lot of storylines going on in a lot of different places, and they're considering trying to tie. I think what made the Avengers work was that everything was so tied together, right? One big universe, but everything tied together. We got all these storylines that aren't tied together at all. We got Loki with the TVA. We got Ant-Man and the Wasp with the Quantum, where Kang is, but also Kang was like, it was just weird. Anyway, in their scrappage, we have found out that the likely movie or the Batman movie that was likely to be filmed starring Michael Keaton was a take of Batman Beyond, which is wildly disappointing for me, Lonzo, because Batman Beyond was a phenomenal animated series.
Oh, it definitely was. And yeah, that's the reason why it's trending. The fact that it was going to be a Batman Beyond movie. So that's two things Michael Keaton as Batman has been scrapped. One, he had already filmed in Batgirl, which supposedly is really, really bad and has nothing to do with the budget. It's just really, really bad. And then the next thing would have been this. But there are a lot of things being scrapped by James Gunn and the DC people, including we may not get Henry Cavill now. We may not. Jason Momoa may be done. There's just a lot of rumors.
Yeah.
But so I guess we'll find out. As long as whatever they're doing fixes things that are supposedly wrong, then I'm okay with it. But anytime you got a chance to see Michael Keaton as Batman, and Batman Beyond would have been awesome, depending on who they got to play the Terry McGinnis part. The next thing that's trending is Sasha Banks.
So a lot of rumors following Sasha Banks around too. She is apparently going to, or is scheduled to, or might show up on a wrestling show in Japan.
Oh, it's confirmed.
Okay, so she will be in Japan.
I think it's Wrestle Kingdom. I think
you are correct. Confirmed for Wrestle Kingdom, but there's also, and this is where, you know, the dirt sheets get a little wonky. There is the rumor that she could be back to WWE, but they had a snag because she wants more money than WWE wants to pay her. There is talk that AEW, in response to that, has made a move. Meltzer said that AEW is super excited to have her in the company, but it's like, yeah, you know what other wrestling company would be excited to have Sasha Banks? All of them. So it's not really, it's weird. It's to the point now, Zoe. It's to the point that despite being a fan of Sasha Banks when she was at her height, like I'm kind of over it. Like show up somewhere and wrestle or don't, but like I'm kind of tired of talking about wrestlers who aren't wrestling.
I just hope that she's in the battle for Mandalore. That's all I care about.
I'd be good with that too.
I liked her as a Mandalorian.
If you want to quit wrestling and just do Star Wars stuff, I got your back, homie. I really do. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for us for the week. Jim Rome's up next to take you through the jungle. And then Mark and Diesel will take you off sides at 3. I hope you all have a spectacular weekend. We will be back on Monday. We'll do it all over again. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. We'll see you back here in a few days on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. Someone will be texting in about how the only basketball they watch is with mid-college players. Yes, they will. Gotta love me. Gotta love me some Jose Alvarado. Trey said, I once had a waitress at the Waffle House named Diamond. I thought it was a more noble career choice for a young lady than other options. Welcome up to the main stage, Diamond. All right, dudes, you guys are the best. We appreciate it. Sincerely, thank you all very much for hanging out with us, and we will see you back here on Monday. Goodbye.